Welcome back. You are listening to the home of forbidden romances. Prepare yourself, because tonight's story will leave you breathless. The turbulence didn't make me vomit. The realization that I was 30,000 feet in the air, shackled to a mahogany table across from the devil himself, did. My stomach lurched, a violent upheaval that had nothing to do with the drop in altitude and everything to do with the predator sitting opposite me. The cabin of the Gulfstream G650 was a masterclass in oppression disguised as luxury. Cream leather seats, gold-trimmed fixtures, and the suffocating scent of expensive scotch mixed with a pheromone signature so dark and heavy it felt like smoke in my lungs. I tugged at the handcuffs securing my left wrist to the armrest. The metal bit into my skin, cold and unforgiving. Across the table, Cassius, the vulture Kovac, didn't even blink. He turned the page of a dossier, his movements languid, predatory, like a lion deciding which limb to tear off first. "Stop struggling, Julian," Cassius said. His voice was a low rumble, a baritone that vibrated through the floorboards and settled deep in my bones. He didn't look up. "You'll bruise. I dislike damaged goods." "I'm not your goods," I snapped, though the tremor in my voice betrayed me. "And I'm not a part of your collection. You have the data drive. I gave it back. Let me go." Cassius finally looked up. His eyes were the color of frozen ocean water, pale, piercing, and devoid of mercy. He closed the folder with a soft thud that echoed like a gunshot in the silent cabin. He slid a crystal glass of water toward me, the ice clinking gently. "Drink," he commanded. "I'm not thirsty." "You are," he corrected, his tone leaving no room for argument. "You've been pale since we took off from Macau. Your heart rate is elevated, your skin is clammy, and you've touched your abdomen 3 times in the last minute. Protective instinct." I froze. My hand was indeed hovering over my stomach. I snatched it away as if burned. "I have altitude sickness, and I despise being kidnapped." "Kidnapped is such a pedestrian word," Cassius mused, leaning back. The expensive fabric of his charcoal 3-piece suit stretched across broad shoulders. He was an enigma, a biological rarity, a tier above the alphas that ruled the underworld. Myth said enigmas could break the laws of biology, that their will alone could reshape the dynamics of those around them. I had always thought it was mafia folklore. Until tonight. I prefer to think of this as a retrieval. "You took something of mine, Julian. I'm simply taking it back." "I told you. The drive is in your pocket," I shouted, the frustration mixing with a sudden, overwhelming wave of nausea. "I'm not talking about the drive." Cassius reached into his inner breast pocket. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a folded piece of medical paper. He slid it across the mahogany surface until it rested under my nose. It bore the seal of the private clinic in Macau I had visited under a pseudonym just 6 hours ago. The clinic where his men had ambushed me. I looked down. The text blurred, then sharpened. Asterisk patient, J. Doe asterisk. HCG levels, extremely high. Status, positive. Gestation. 9 weeks. The world tilted on its axis. The hum of the jet engine roared in my ears, drowning out my own ragged breathing. "This is fake," I whispered, the blood draining from my face. "I'm a beta. Male betas can't. We don't have the biology. This is impossible." Cassius leaned forward, invading my personal space. The scent of him, spiced amber, gunpowder, and rain, overwhelmed my senses. He placed a large, calloused hand over mine, pinning it to the table. "With anyone else, yes." "Impossible," Cassius murmured, his eyes locking onto mine with a terrifying intensity. "But you didn't sleep with anyone else, did you, little thief? You slept with me." The memory hit me like a physical blow. Asterisk 3 months ago. The Obsidian Gala. Asterisk it was supposed to be a simple extraction. Get in, copy the encrypted ledger from the server room of the Kovac estate, and get out. I was good at what I did. I was a ghost. I was a beta, invisible to the pheromone-driven power plays of alphas and omegas. I could slip through cracks they couldn't see. But I hadn't accounted for him. I had been cornered in the East Wing library. The security systems had gone into lockdown. I had hidden in the shadows of a velvet curtain, holding my breath. Then the doors opened. Cassius walked in. He wasn't looking for an intruder. He was escaping the party, looking for solitude. But the moment he entered the room, the air changed. It became heavy, charged with static. My beta physiology, usually dormant and dull, flared with a heat I had never experienced. My skin pricked. My breath hitched. He smelled me instantly. "Come out," he had said to the empty room. It wasn't a question. It was a summons. I should have run. I should have used the window. But my legs wouldn't obey. I stepped out, trembling, the stolen drive burning a hole in my pocket. I expected a bullet. Instead, Cassius had looked at me with a curiosity that terrified me more than anger. He closed the distance between us in 2 strides. He didn't ask who I was. He didn't ask for the drive. He simply inhaled the air around my neck, and a low growl rumbled in his chest. "You smell like nothing," he had whispered, his lips grazing my ear. "A blank canvas. I'm a beta," I had stammered, my knees weak. "Let me go." "No," he replied. "Tonight, you are whatever I want you to be." What followed wasn't assault, and it wasn't love. It was a collision of natural disasters. The Enigma's pheromones didn't just suppress me, they rewrote me. The heat that consumed me that night was unnatural. A biological override that turned my body molten. I had lost all sense of time, mission, and self. I was simply his. When I woke up the next morning, the drive was still in my pocket, and the bed was empty. I fled, thinking I had escaped the devil with my life. I didn't know I had taken a piece of him with me. "You remember?" Cassius said softly, pulling me back to the pressurized cabin of the jet. "I can see it in your eyes. The way your pupils dilate. Your body remembers my command. You did something to me," I accused, tears of confusion and rage pricking my eyes. "Enigmas. It's true. You changed my physiology. I unlocked you," he corrected, arrogance dripping from every syllable. "And now you are carrying my air." "I'm getting rid of it," I spat out. The words were a defensive reflex, a way to reclaim control in a situation where I had none. The temperature in the cabin dropped 20 degrees in a second. Cassius moved so fast I didn't see him rise. Suddenly, he was looming over me, his hand gripping my chin, forcing my head up. His grip was iron but not painful, just absolute. His eyes were no longer calm. They were swirling with a dark, possessive tempest. "Say that again," he whispered, his voice deadly quiet. "And I will ground this plane, burn down whatever city we land in, and lock you in a tower so high that not even sunlight will touch you without my permission. You can't force me to. I can do anything, Julian. I am the Kovac Dawn. I own politicians, judges, and armies. Do you think your bodily autonomy is a match for my will?" He released my chin and smoothed his hand down my chest, resting it flat over my stomach. The heat of his palm seeped through my shirt, and traitorously, the nausea subsided, replaced by a strange, humming warmth. My body recognized him. My body wanted him. "It is a boy," he said, his tone shifting from threat to reverence in a heartbeat. "I can feel him. He has my blood type, my strength." "You're insane," I breathed, leaning back into the leather seat, exhausted. "You hunt people who cross you. You kill spies. I stole your ledger. Why am I alive?" Cassius sat on the edge of the table, towering over me. He picked up a grape from a silver fruit bowl and held it to my lips. "Because you are the only thing I have ever found interesting. And because you are the mother of the next king." I turned my head away, refusing the food. "I'm a man. Stop calling me that." "You are my mate," he corrected. "The biology is irrelevant. The title is irrelevant. You belong to me. I am not a possession," I shouted, yanking at the cuffs again. "And this isn't a family. It's a hostage situation." "Is it?" Cassius smirked. Then why did you keep the drive but never sell it? It's been 3 months. You could have sold that ledger to the Russians for $10 million. You didn't. You kept it. I went silent. He was right. I hadn't sold it. Every time I looked at the drive, I remembered the heat of his skin, the weight of his body, the way he made me feel like I was the only person in the universe. I told myself it was insurance. I was lying. I was waiting for the price to go up. I lied weakly. Liar, Cassius murmured. He finally unlocked my handcuffs with a small silver key. You were waiting for me to come find you. I rubbed my wrists, glaring at him. So what now? We fly to your fortress in Sicily? You lock me up? I knit booties while you torture rivals in the basement. Sicily is compromised, Cassius said, his face hardening. We are going to a safe house in the Alps. The Russians know about the drive. They know about you. Me? Why me? Because intelligence leaks, Cassius said, his jaw tightening. Rumors of an Enigma finding a mate spread fast. If the Ivanov family knows you are pregnant with an heir, you are target number 1. A beta carrying an Enigma child is scientifically valuable and politically dangerous. As if summoned by his words, the plane lurched violently. This wasn't turbulence. This was evasive action. The seatbelt sign pinged aggressively. The intercom crackled. Asterisk, sir, we have 2 bogies closing in. Fighter jets. Unmarked. They're locking on. Asterisk. Cassius didn't panic. He stood up, buttoning his jacket. Defensive maneuvers. Rico. Deploy the chaff. Get us below the radar. Asterisk. Copy that. Asterisk. The plane banked sharp left, gravity pinning me to the seat. The crystal glass slid off the table and shattered. What's happening? I yelled, gripping the armrests. The Ivanovs, Cassius snarled. He moved toward me, unbuckling my seatbelt. Get up. We're moving to the reinforced cabin in the rear. I can't. I gagged, the sudden motion triggering the sickness again. I doubled over, dry heaving. Cassius was there instantly. He scooped me up into his arms as if I weighed nothing. I've got you. Breathe, Julian. Focus on my voice. Another jolt shook the frame of the aircraft. Something exploded outside. A flare intercepting a missile. The sound was deafening. They're shooting at us? I screamed. They are trying to kill the future, Cassius said grimly, carrying me down the narrow aisle toward the back of the jet. But they forget who I am. He kicked open the door to a secure room, lined with steel, windowless, designed for this exact scenario. He deposited me on a secured bench and strapped me in. Stay here, he ordered, pulling a heavy handgun from a hidden compartment in the wall. Where are you going? I grabbed his sleeve. Don't leave me here. Cassius looked at my hand on his arm, then at my terrified eyes. His expression softened, just a fraction. I have to coordinate the defense from the cockpit. The pilot needs my authorization to release the countermeasures. Cassius, I whispered. It was the first time I had used his name without venom. He leaned down, pressing a hard, fierce kiss to my forehead. I will not let them touch you. I will burn the sky before I let a single scratch mar your skin. Trust me. He turned to leave, but stopped at the door. And Julian? If we crash, know that for 3 months you were the only thing I thought about. The door slammed shut and locked automatically. I was alone in the dark, the plane vibrating violently around me. I wrapped my arms around my stomach. The reality of the situation crashed down on me. I wasn't just a thief anymore. I wasn't just a hostage. I was a vessel for a legacy that people were willing to kill for. And despite my fear, despite the impossibility of it all, a fierce, burning instinct ignited in my chest. Protect. I felt a phantom flutter in my abdomen. It was too early for movement, surely, but the connection the Enigma spoke of. I felt it. A tether pulling me toward the man in the cockpit and the life growing inside me. The plane dived. My stomach hit my throat. I squeezed my eyes shut. Please, I prayed to a God I hadn't spoken to in years. Let him be as powerful as he says he is. 10 minutes of hell ensued. The sounds of explosions, the groaning of metal, the feeling of G-force crushing my lungs. I bit my lip until it bled. Then silence. The vibration smoothed out. The engine hum returned to a steady drone. A moment later, the electronic lock on the door beeped. Cassius stepped in. He looked unruffled, save for a single lock of silver hair that had fallen across his forehead. He holstered his gun. "It is done," he said simply. "They are dust." I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding and slumped against the straps. "You're crazy. This life is crazy." Cassius walked over and knelt before me. It was a shocking display of submission from a man who ruled empires. He began to undo the straps he had secured me with. "It is," he agreed. "But you are safe." He pulled me forward, burying his face in the crook of my neck, inhaling deeply. His hands came up to cup my face, his thumbs wiping away the sweat on my brow. "You're bleeding," I noticed, seeing a small cut on his cheek, where he must have hit something during the turbulence. "It's nothing. It's not nothing," I murmured. Without thinking, I reached out and touched the cut. He leaned into my touch, his eyes closing. The monster was gone, replaced by a man who looked relieved, almost desperate. "Julian," he rasped. "Stop fighting me. Stop fighting us. The world outside this jet wants us dead. In here, I can give you everything." I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the exhaustion behind the ruthlessness. I saw the terror he had hidden while the missiles were flying. He wasn't scared for himself. He was scared for me. My resistance, built on logic and fear, began to crumble under the weight of his undeniable devotion. The biology was impossible, the situation was insane, but the bond was real. "I can't be a prisoner, Cassius," I said quietly. "If I do this, if I have this baby, I can't be a bird in a cage. Even a golden one." Cassius opened his eyes. They burned with intensity. "A bird? No, you are not a bird, Julian. You are the one who stole from the vulture and lived. You are my equal." He took my hand and placed it back on my stomach, covering it with his own. "You will not be a prisoner," he vowed. "You will be the queen on the chessboard. You will have my protection, my wealth, and my loyalty. But you must give me one thing in return." "What?" I asked, my heart pounding against my ribs. "Your trust," he said. "Admit that you feel it too. The pull, the heat." I looked down at our joined hands. I thought about the 3 months I spent running, feeling like half a person. I thought about the moment he walked into that library, and how my soul seemed to snap into alignment. "I feel it," I whispered, the admission terrifying and liberating all at once. "I feel it." Cassius let out a breath that sounded like a prayer. He stood up, pulling me with him, and crushed his lips to mine. It wasn't gentle. It was a claiming, a searing promise of forever. I melted into him, my hands gripping his lapels, surrendering to the storm. "Good," he growled against my mouth, "because we're beginning our descent into the Alps. And once we land, there is no going back. You belong to the Kovac family now." I rested my forehead against his chest, listening to the steady, powerful beat of his heart. "I know," I said, and for the first time in 3 months I didn't want to run. The Enigma had caught his thief. But looking at the way he held me, as if I were made of glass and starlight, I realized something else. The thief had also caught the Enigma, and that is how the vulture built a nest for his unexpected dove. If you enjoyed seeing Julian surrender to his fate, and the absolute power of Cassius, destroy that like button. And tell me in the comments, would you forgive a ruthless mafia boss if he offered you the world? Or is a golden cage still a cage? I'll be reading your answers. Subscribe for the next chapter. Until then,